jump right in. This is exciting. All righty. So here it is. All right. So this is brought to you by Vorse. Now, if you don't know what we do, I'm going to give you a quick 2 sentences here. We work with B2B SaaS and service companies, and we help them build a repeatable sales process. The 2 scenarios we run into are building a team for the first time and wanting to make sure you do it right, or have a team currently and they're not performing as well as they could. If either of those things are where you're at right now, feel free to go on the website, schedule a time with me, and I'll talk through and see if we're a good fit. We don't work with very many customers. We have 1 slot that actually just opened up for beginning of March. So if you're interested in seeing if we can help, I'll be super honest with you if I feel like we can. Okay, we're not right for everybody. All righty, enough about me, more about what we're talking about, which is how to get consistent sales by connecting effort and outcome. Right? I mentioned earlier, I want to know that relationship between the activities that we're spending time on and the outcomes of those activities. Here's the promise. By the end of this class, you will have what you need to calculate the leading indicators needing to hit your target. That's what we're talking about today, the leading indicators of hitting the numbers that we want to hit. And there's a bunch of reasons why this is important that I'm going to go into, but it's critical that we understand that relationship and tying that, making these the leading indicators, and then these are the actual outcomes we're looking for, and really understanding that relationship is how we do that. Quick background for those first timers that are here. Who am I? Great question. My name's Kyle. I've worked with over 80 B2B software and service companies, helping them build a repeatable sales process. If you are familiar with my content at all, you'll know that I take a very data-driven approach when it comes to running sales organizations. And that's really the lens that I see the sales world through. I believe in my heart of hearts that sales is a data-driven process. That's what I believe. That's my core ethos here. Next is I've written 3 Amazon best-selling books. One is on cold outreach called Cold to Committed. The other is on leading sales teams. That's called the Sales Development Framework. And the third is on building a repeatable sales process. That's called 16 Steps to Repeatable Sales. And then finally, I've helped our clients sell over 100 million in software and services, probably well over that now. Over 280 million in money raised. About 30% of our clients have been venture backed, so not the majority, but they've raised a lot. And I've trained over 1,000 salespeople. Been around the block. I've been in AE. I've been in SDR. I started as an SDR. I've also been in board meetings while sales is going great. I've been in board meetings when sales are not going great. So I've seen this world through a bunch of different perspectives, and it gives me a really well-rounded view on how to effectively run sales organizations. That's why I've done it a bunch. Cool. What's the problem we're really talking about today? Well, what I've found is that too many founders and sales leaders swoop in on their sales team and they consistently make changes over and over and over and over again. And the problem is when you chaotically swoop in without a clear plan, it may work very short term. And you might have experienced this before. And actually type in yes if this has been an experience you've had. Change the script because the team isn't performing well. Maybe completely change the lead list. Target a new market. Type in yes if you've ever made a change to the sales process, or you've been at a company where it's changed to the sales process just happened, feeling like it seemingly came out of nowhere. Yeah, we got some yeses here already. Super, super common. This is like chaotic swooping that happens. And here's one of the things that makes it difficult. Like I said, it can work in the very short term. But the problem is, if you do this, if you're a founder, if you're a sales leader, and you swoop in, you chaotically make changes, and improvement might be short-lived, or doesn't really make much of an improvement at all, or the team doesn't understand what's going on, you're not going to be the hero of the story. It'll be a short-term fix. You'll actually end up being the villain. And you have one really special superpower: breaking your team's confidence. This is not an ivory tower. We come down and we bless our pupils with the way. Sales is iterative. It's a data-driven process. And if you break your sales team's confidence, it has a dramatic impact on the culture negatively, and ultimately is going to make it very difficult for you to have a really reliable sales process. If you don't have a well thought out plan, every time you jump in to rescue a deal, every time you change the strategy, every time you overhaul the process, you think you're helping your team, but what you're really doing is stripping away their ownership. And when you keep making those changes and performance doesn't improve long-term, you're going to teach your team the most devastating lesson of all. This company has no idea what it's doing. And if anyone here watching this is a sales rep, you might have been in this position before. You're at a company, they make a bunch of changes, nothing seems to really be working. And at a certain point in your head, you go, oh, they have no clue what they're doing. And it's okay to need to iterate and really build out your sales process. It's not okay to not include the sales reps in that iteration and collaborate with them, because they need to execute and they need to be strong believers in what we're doing. So that is one of the ways that founders accidentally sabotage their team. I call it the rescue reflex. It's that instinct to swoop in and save the day. So I want to talk today about how do we prevent that reflex from taking over. It's very, very simple. You don't need to swoop if you can see what's coming. The most effective founders and sales leaders I've worked with don't wait for a missed quota. They don't wait for to see if their forecasts were accurate. They don't wait until most of their deals get pushed out until next quarter. They know they're behind well before it happens, because leading indicators tell you exactly where your team is headed. You must know that relationship between the activities your reps spend time on and the outcomes that they generate. Because when everyone knows what needs to be done on a daily basis, you can tell on a daily basis if you are behind or on track. And that's exactly what I'm going to show you how to do today. It's called the activity to outcome planner. I will also give everybody one of these. I only got a couple. I'm going to give everybody the link to this so you can make a copy of it and use it in your own organization. But let me walk through how it works. Look at this. Beautiful. I was prepared today. You like that, guys, this week? We're on it, baby. All right. So this is the activity outcome calculator. I have it a couple different ways. So this would be for a sales team that's responsible for some of their own prospecting. This could be for an SDR team that's responsible for getting meetings to complete, or this is an SDR team that's responsible for sales accepted opportunities. So I give you a couple different ways to do the calculation. We'll do the deal-based one here. Okay. So here's the question. We have this activity calculator. How many deals? You start with how many days are in the month. I'll put 20 for this example, but you set here, how many deals does the rep need to hit their number? So in this case, I have 9 deals. What's the close rate from first meeting to deal being closed? In this case, we have 25% in this example. What's the show up rate? 80% of meetings that schedule actually show up. And then connect to meeting rate, 30% of people we speak to over the phone, or a connect can also be replies from an email. You can choose which one you want to use here. But let's say in this one, connect to meeting rate is 30%. So if we talk to someone 30% of the time we're booking a meeting, that's pretty high. Dial to connect rate, 10%. So when we make a call, 10% of the time they actually pick up the phone. And then we're going to calculate how many demos are needed, how many meetings are needed, how many connects are being made, and how many activities are required to get those connects. And then it gives you a daily number, in this case, 75. Okay, that's how the sheet works. Pretty simple. But let's talk through some different scenarios here so you can see it in different settings. So the first thing here is dial to connect rate. That's pretty high. What if you have a 5% dial to connect rate, which is pretty much the average? If you take a cold list, depending on your industry, but if you sell into more mid-market enterprise size companies, 5% on a cold list is going to be pretty normal. Now, when you connect to somebody, what percentage of the time do you actually book a meeting with them? 30 is pretty high. 10, I like to use, sometimes less than that, but 10, let's say. And then look, show up rate, 80%. Let's keep that the same. And let's say your close rate is 25% and you still need 9 deals. So we change these numbers. What do you notice here? Oh boy, 450 calls are required a day to hit 9 deals with these metrics. So here's the problem. Because your metrics look like this, most likely your team can't make 450 calls a day. So if you're operating right now and don't know how many calls a day are necessary in this example to hit your number, and then you find out it's 450, no wonder you're behind. So what does that mean, right? It means we need to improve these metrics, or we just don't have an attainable target. One of those two things it would be true. Okay, so that's how I want you guys using this, is think through. Let's do another example here. Let's say our close rate is pretty high, like maybe this is more of an SMB sale, and we're doing a 35% close rate. Our show up rate is 65%, so on the lower side. Our connect to meeting rate, let's say when we talk to somebody, we book a meeting 15% of the time, but we have a really high, we call like the front desk to like the front desk of a chiropractic clinic. So they answer the phone. Let's say they answer the phone 30% of the time. And this is actually a bit lower because you have to get through the gatekeeper and stuff like that. So you can see here, okay, 66, that's great. Well, what if these numbers are a little bit different? Maybe this is 25%. Okay, 80. Now what I'm doing is I'm starting to think worst case, right? So I'm like, all right, well, connect to me, like maybe it is a little tougher. Maybe it's 8%. All right, 99. Okay, cool. Make 100 calls a day. Mathematically, you're going to hit your 9 deals a month if that's your quota. All right, perfect. Well, what if we can get our show rate up? So now, like, you might give this to the rep and say, hey, these are our leading indicators, 100 calls a day. You're 2 weeks into the month, you're 2 weeks in, and you're looking, you're like, wow, we're not averaging 100 calls a day. We're most likely not going to be able to hit this number because it's a leading indicator, right? You're not going to find out at the end of the month. You know we're probably not going to hit it because we're not hitting the leading indicators to hitting it. But what you can do is you can say, all right, well, I have the leading indicator of 100 calls per day. What happens if I just make my focus this month helping the team increase our average show up rate from 65% to 70%? Oh, it dropped down a little bit. What if it's 75? Drop down a little bit more. Now we're at 86. You're starting to see the point. And then there becomes a time where it goes, hey, what if this becomes our world where we can make 100 calls a day and we're going to be getting 10 deals? You might not change the quota. You might just show the reps this, like, hey, look, you personally, like, your quota is 9 deals a month, but you said you wanted to make a lot more money and you wanted 12 deals. You're going to make a lot more money doing that. That's 115 calls a day. Do you think you can do that? Can you do 15 extra calls per day? Well, yeah, of course I can. All right, great. Well, now as a leader, I can hold you accountable to that because you told me you wanted to hit 12 deals. Your quota might be 9. Maybe there's an accelerator they can hit. If you are seeing how this can be helpful in working with your team, if you could type yes in the chat, I want to make sure that everybody is getting this. This is not only a tool for you to understand what is the minimum required to hit the targets you're setting for the team and what the leading indicators are of hitting the metric you want to hit, but it's also a tool for helping the sales reps understand mathematically what they could do to hit whatever target that they want to hit. So let me go to the chat here, make sure that you all are getting this. Okay, yes, yes, yes. Okay, perfect. Can we get the link for the sheet? Yes, I will give you the sheet. All right, perfect. But everyone understands it. That's the important part. Actually, would anybody say they don't understand this? We might be doing a little peer pressure here. Okay, cool. So let me just double check here. Aubrey, I'm going to answer. Yours is not framed as a question, but I think it is a question. So I want to talk about that at the end. Okay, cool. All right, people are getting it. Awesome. So this is what I'm talking about when understanding the relationship between the activities you do and the outcome. It's not rocket science, but this little step is either completely missed by founders or leaders, or it's understood by the founder, by the sales leader, but the sales team doesn't understand it. And that's a big disconnect. I want the sales reps to understand the metrics and the data. And I want them to be able to go, hey, look, so far this month, my dial to connect rate is way lower than it normally is. Or, hey, my show up rate is way off track right now. And they can readjust and then find their daily numbers themselves. You enable the entire org to be data driven. All right, so let's go back here and we'll close the loop. We'll get into Q&A. All right, with the knowledge of what needs to happen on a daily basis, you can see if the team is hitting those leading indicators. This is what I was talking about earlier. Super important that you understand that. In the last, I said 30 minutes here, but we got through this pretty quick. It's like 20 minutes we went through this. So in the past 20 minutes, we covered how the rescue reflex actually undermines your team's confidence and strips away their sense of ownership. Why reactive leadership, like waiting for missed quotas or push deals, sets both you and your sales team up for failure. And then finally, the power of leading indicators and daily activity tracking to help you spot potential issues early. That's what we've covered today. Now, before I transition into our Q&A, we do these live classes every single week. And maybe I'll just go to the page to show you because I went through that much quicker than I was anticipating. And by the way, they're all like this. They're quick, actionable things that you can implement immediately. If you go to this page here, it's vorus.com/events. You can see all of our classes coming up. So this is the one that we're just doing right now. And you can see how to read your sales pipeline so you can spot problems early. That's what we're doing next week. How to create high converting cold outreach with free resources. Sales metrics. You can see like we have all of these different topics. You can go in and register for all of these. Also, you'll notice on our email list, the vast majority of the emails you get are telling you what the next class is. I think we do 2 a week telling you what next week's class is, so you can sign up for it if you'd want to. There's also past events now. We added this a couple of months ago. And you can go through and you can click watch now and you give your name and email, and then you'll have access to all of them. So you only give your name and email once and you'll have access to all of them. The final thing I'm going to tell you before Q&A, I just launched it. This is free. Is called salesreport.ai. This is a tool that I built, took a while. I've spent over 100 hours working on developing this tool. And I finally have put it all together in a simple interface that you go in and you put in details about who you sell to, what what kind of process you have. Is it cold call only, emails / social DMs, or is it both of those? You put in some of your metrics, and I've built a really incredible AI, a series of AI agents that are all connected together to analyze your data, identify bottlenecks in your sales process, and give you actionable next steps that you could follow to solve those bottlenecks. If you have filled this out already before, first of all, if you're not interested in this, don't do it. It's a free thing. It's not like a paid thing. But I'm going to put the link to this as well, because if you've done this before, today I just shipped a new, I kind of redid our module around math, because there was a bunch of math errors in the initial wave of people who started using this. But I just launched this on Wednesday. So I will throw that in here. So there's salesreport.ai. There's vorus.com/events. If you have a question, please type it in now. I'm just grabbing the calculator that I just walked through, so you guys all have that as well. And then here's this. And then finally, right before Q&A, I will do this link here. All right, the link I'm about to share, some of you already know what I'm going to share, but for those of you who don't, this is the most important link I've ever shared in my life. This is the survey. Please, please, please. There's a good amount of people on this live class. It's a good amount. Actually, more showed up than I thought were going to show up. Please do the survey. It helps me a ton. And hopefully, like you see, like I'm not selling a bunch of stuff to you here. Like I'm trying to be as valuable as I possibly can. That is only possible because people do this survey. So if you're sitting there, you're like, I don't feel like doing a survey. Please do it. I beg of you. It's like a small little thing you can do for me. And then hopefully you got value from this and you're feeling the reciprocity. Okay, cool. Oh, whoops, my bad. Yeah, it's vorus.com/events. Let me delete that one. Aubrey, you're hired. Okay, cool. Vorus.com/events. Okay, cool. So I gave you everything. Let's go through the questions here. And I did see, like, do I respond to the surveys? Not like directly. I won't shoot you an email or anything like that. But I read through all of them. And especially if I'm sad. No. Okay, cool. So let's jump in and cover some of these questions. Did you share the link to the sheet? Yes, I did. It's there. You can have the sheet. Yes. Okay. Yeah. Aubrey, you said this. I really wanted to cover this. Yes, this makes sense. And our org doesn't seem to have our product dialed in. So I'm skeptical this will work for us at the moment. Yeah. Look, product is a really big lever, but I want to be super clear about this. What is not dialed in about the product that's impacting your sales metrics and which metrics. Okay. So if the product isn't executing on the promise very well, that's going to have a big impact on churn. Big impact on churn. If it doesn't have the features that it needs to have in order to close a deal, it's going to have a big impact on close rate, right? If it's not solving a problem that's all that interesting for people to solve, it's going to impact your conversion when you speak to prospects. So does this work for the organization? It does, but you have to be realistic about which metrics are being impacted by whatever deficiencies there are in the product. And you might need to wait for product development to catch up to solve some of those problems. But if the issue is the product, like maybe we're not positioning the product well, but it does do its job really well, well, then we can just change the messaging on the cold call side or the cold email, whatever you're using, to help improve it. So hopefully that's helpful, Aubrey. But what I encourage people to do where they're concerned about their product to market fit is to like really try and understand, is it more of a messaging issue or is it impacting a different metric? Yeah, so right here, Rob said he gets it, and this is more of like volume, velocity, SDR based. So yes, this is meant for reps that are also doing some of their own outreach. It's okay if that outreach is to inbound leads. They're still in a number of calls that they're making. The dial to connect rate, probably higher. The connect to meeting booked rate, probably higher if they're doing inbound leads. But the activity number is important still. So you can still do this even if it's a smaller volume thing because you still have metrics, right? It's just the quantity of activity you are doing is a lot less. I'm happy to dissect that more too if you want to chat about it. All right. When you share the link to the sheet, exchange a URL after edit to thank you. Yeah, I think everyone has edit access to that sheet, or everyone has view only access to that sheet. But yeah, I think if I do like /copy, it'll just auto copy for people. That's a good point. I need to start doing that. I love this resource. And my question is, our org has a very low close rate, which indicates we've got a problem further up the stream. Let's talk about low close rates real quick. Couple of things here. One, why are we losing? You should have close loss reasons really well built out and know the distribution of those close loss reasons, because we need to understand why we're losing. And guess what? Product fit or feature fit, not good enough, especially if with the challenges you guys are running into. I would make the salespeople mark what feature was missing. Two reasons why. One, because now the product team knows what features are required to actually close some deals. That would be nice versus them just all like playing in fairyland. And then the second thing here is when they do roll out that feature, you go to all of your closed lost deals, sort by feature, the feature that was missing, and then you reach out to those people because you have it now. Okay, so really, really important. I know I said one. I had a plan to do some other ones, but I'm like forgetting on. I kind of just went down a different track. All right, forget that I said three things. It was only one. Let's keep going here. Is this in perpetual loading for just me? I don't know. I think so. So how do we address that with our leadership? Okay, cool. So yeah, addressing some of this stuff with leadership can be challenging. The first thing I will say is the numbers do the talking. We can argue how to interpret the data. That's totally fine. But the data is the data. So how I convince anyone of anything is I just pull the numbers out. Because I don't know if my opinion on something is much better than anyone else's opinion. I mean, for a lot of things, sure, maybe. Like in this, if I'm talking to somebody about building out sales orgs, I probably know more about it than basically anybody else, with a few exceptions. So, of course, my opinion is going to be really valid there. But it's also silly to not have the data that's backing up my opinion. So what I would recommend you do if you want to convince anyone of anything is you pull up the data and you say, hey, look, so Aubrey, you're talking about close rate being really low. Here's our entire, all of our data. This is our percentages across every part of our sales process. And notice one very low percentage, which is our win rate. It is incredibly low. Well, I looked into it and this is our win rate. Here's our biggest drop-off stage. So maybe people just don't make it past the first meeting. Maybe they make it to like kind of solution design. I don't know what you sell, but whether it's like more transactional out of the box or if it's more customized, but maybe they're dropping off that proposal, whatever it is. This is where everyone's dropping off. And this is the distribution of close loss reasons. I have some ideas of what I think the biggest bottlenecks are here, but I wanted to meet with everybody and discuss what we could possibly do to increase the close rate. Because when we increase the close rate, of course, we make more money, but then our salespeople are going to be less sad because they make money. Hopefully that's helpful, Aubrey. Let me know if that was. Okay. Oh, good reminder for myself. Past Kyle, you did a good job here. Please fill out my survey. Please, please, please. That would mean the world to me. You know what I should start doing? I should make this survey part of my like sales AI report, that salesreport.ai. So like that's kind of a flashy, like the output's really cool. You'll see it's like this, it's just like this crazy, it's not crazy, but like it's a really, really cool breakdown of like the sales process bottlenecks and like how to fix them. I should make the survey part of that just to incentivize people to do it. The event links didn't work. Yeah, we fixed that. That was my bad because I don't spell good. Do you typically respond to surveys? I already answered that. This helpful information. All right, cool. We got more here. In the model that you showed, what are the dial/metrics that are usually most ripe for improvement? This is a good question. I have them up here, so I'm going to read you like. Actually, I can just share this again. Whoops, crap. There we go. All right, so let's talk about this real quick, and I'll tell you what I think. So generally, down here, these are the biggest levers to pull because they're higher up the funnel. Right now they're low, but like normally, like at the top of the funnel is like the calls you make, how many people you connect to, how many people book a meeting, how many meetings show up, how many meetings qualify, how many meetings make it through each step, and then how many close. So generally, these are the bigger levers to pull here. Now, of course, like there's one mega lever, which is like we could just make a lot more calls, but it's not linear. Just because you make more calls doesn't mean all of a sudden you're booking more meetings. Like usually it does at like a base level, but that's like monkey brain stuff. Like, oh, more calls are. What I really want to do is I really want to see, hey, how can we be more effective with our calls? So let me give you an example here. Let's say we have 3% connect to meeting rate. Also, if you can type in like, are you liking me doing this thing? I'm playing around in the spreadsheet again. If you like that, please press yes, because I don't want to spend too much time on this. People are like, no, this is boring, dude. But okay, let's say our connect to meeting rate is 3%. Bad. Okay, really bad. By the way, if it's 1%, if it's 2%, then you might just be going to spam. Like you might be calling and saying spam likely, abort mission. And like, you don't want to be spam likely. You want to be spam very unlikely. So let's say it's 3%, which is borderline, by the way, could be spam likely, could not be. You just call another phone number and see if you pop up like that. Okay, I'm seeing yes, cool. So I'll continue down this. So let's say this is pretty common, really, really low data connect rate. And let's say that's connected meeting. Sorry. Let's say our data connect rate is 3%. Let's say our connected meeting is, let's say it's 10%. So it's not terrible. That's actually good. That's like the floor of what I will deem acceptable. I'd really want this more 15%. And if you have more market awareness, it should be even higher. Like I have a good friend of mine who he works with larger companies with their SDR teams, and he expects 20 to 25% connect to meeting booked rate. And I'm like, you and I are in different worlds, dude. But he's working with companies that are household names. Okay, show up rate here. Let's keep that the same for now. So we'll keep all of the same. So let's say this is what we're looking at. You're like, oh, Jesus, dude. We have to make 762 calls a day. Like imagine if you were a sales rep and this is what you saw. You'd be like, oh, Jesus. I'll start looking for a job now and exit, But let's put this to 10 to make it a little bit better. Okay, so I have to make 635 calls a day. That's not happening. So here's what I got. And oh, by the way, some of you here who might have a little experience might go, well, what do you mean it's not happening? You can use a dialer and you can rip through all these calls. I'm going to get there. Wait a minute. Okay, so data connect rate of 3%. This is two things: list problem or a problem with the workflow. The reps aren't calling their follow-up lists. A couple of things you need to know about cold calling. And I'm happy to talk about this with other channels as well, but since we're talking about cold calling, I'm going to talk about cold calling. A couple of things to know about cold calling. When you call through a cold list, you have a lower connect rate. If you call through a list of people who have answered the phone once before in the past, your connect rate is way higher. So you can actually give the SDRs a prescription of what their distribution of calling a cold list versus calling a follow-up list, a list of people who've answered the phone before in the past. And that'll help smooth out this number and increase it overall, because the people who've answered the phone before in the past are more likely to answer the phone, higher data connect rate, cold list lower. We meet in the middle a little bit. Okay, so that's one thing that I'll mention. A couple of things here. Hey, Kyle, we can use a dialer. Let's use a parallel dialer. We'll make 5 calls at a time and it'll just connect me to whoever answers the phone. And then we'll rip through a bunch of leads. And because our data connect rate is so low, we'll be able to get through 635 a day. That sounds good on paper. And yes, you can. The problem is our connect to meeting plummets when we do that. I've tested this a lot and it goes down by 5%. So you would actually need to do 1,270. What is this noise? Sorry, there's a weird noise that's happening. I don't know where that noise is coming from, but it's annoying me. Okay, I don't know what that noise is. Sorry for that noise, whatever that noise is. I don't know what it is. Okay, so it actually goes up because it cuts your connect to meeting rate down quite a bit. Okay, and look, you might say like, oh, 50%. In my experience, it has been that extreme, but even call this 7%, like still making an insane amount of calls. So what can you do here? A couple of things. One, try to get a better list. Change distribution. We talked about those. Here's another little trick. This is like a back pocket one that I pull out sometimes. What we'll do is we'll call through as many leads as possible with the parallel dialer. Oh, before I jump into that, the reason it drops, this is my hypothesis, the reason it drops, I believe, that the connect to meeting rate when you use a dialer, a parallel dialer, is because there's a delay when it connects you. That delay, I found where the noise is coming from. Gotcha. Okay. That delay from connect to, or that delay in the beginning of the cold call before you introduce yourself immediately links it in the brain of the prospect. Oh, this is somebody calling me that's trying to scam me, or it's like some BS call. Because all the times that they have that little delay, hello, this is Kyle. Hey, this is whoever. It's always shitty. So like in their head, like you're starting on such a bad foot. That's why I think it happens. So what we'll do sometimes is we'll use a parallel dialer to call through the lead list. We'll accept our 3% data connect rate. We'll just make as many calls as possible, but we're not going to call to book a meeting. We're going to call and do a survey. And I won't go into a ton of detail here. I'm happy to talk more about this if you want to comment in here, but I want to get to the next questions. But we'll call and do a survey. We'll ask a series of questions. One of the questions will be, are you struggling with this problem, a problem that you solve? Are you actively looking for a solution to that problem? And then we'll one-off call the people that answer the phone, and then also highly prioritize people who said that they have the problem that we solve and are actively looking for a solution. So that's something that you can try. All right. Any other questions here? Helpful information. The model you showed. Yep. Okay. How do the deal metrics change for enterprise AE deals that are much larger? Well, the amount of deals they'll need to close per month are really low. If it's below 1 deal per month, you can even do fractional and say, hey, monthly, we want 0.3 deals, and the math will work out the same. But the metrics do change. Oh, Rodney, I noticed Grogu on your shelf. Are you looking forward to the Mandalorian and Grogu? I just call him Baby Yoda. This is he's talking about this right here, Baby Yoda. I watched this a little bit with my daughter, but when my daughter was 2.5, we built this. She was really good at she's very organized. And even at 2.5, she would just sit there and be like, ooh, here are all your little pieces you need. So we built that little thing. So it's more of a sentimental thing for me. Okay, that's all the questions. We did it, everybody. Congrats. Please fill out the survey if you have not already. That's super helpful for me. Like I mentioned, I'll repost the link here just to make it super easy that you have no choice but to do it. And any questions at all, never hesitate to reach out. There's a lot you can be doing on a Thursday. You're spending it with me. I appreciate that. And I will see you next week. If you haven't signed up for that one, go ahead and do so. Awesome, everybody. We'll talk soon. Bye.